Mythical Creatures, Truths and Tales, Part 6, The Dragon, Part 2. We started to uncover some of the characteristics and aspects of the dragon. Now we will continue to unfold the mysteries that are within God's Word, and even some secular thoughts. Previously, we were talking about Rahab the sea creature in Isaiah, and further on in the Bible, we see the dragon of the sea references being used. Another reference, in regard to the dragon in the sea, is found in Ezekiel 29, verse 3. This verse speaks about Egypt and the Pharaoh, but pictures the great dragon that lies in the rivers. Given the location, this is more apt to be a crocodile than anything else. So you have the leviathan, a great sea monster, and a crocodile, a river monster. Another reference to the dragon is found as a jackal. I found 6 verses that dragon refers to a jackal, and we see a few in the passages of Isaiah. Isaiah 13:21-22 speaks about the wild beasts in the desert, and then specifically mentions dragons in their pleasant palaces. It would appear to refer to both, but we have a more vivid view of the other passages, such as Isaiah 35:7, the habitation of dragons, where they lay in grass and reeds. We also have a reference in Isaiah 43, verse 20, where the Lord tells Isaiah to tell the people he will provide them a passage, and also talks about that the beast of the field will honor him, the dragons and the owls, because he gives water in the deserts. Jeremiah also has a couple verses which speak about the den of dragons, or jackals, as the reference is made. Both Jeremiah 9:11 and 10:22 speak about the den of dragons, but the way this term is used refers to jackals. The desolate ruins of cities were great resting places for packs of jackals, and when God tells Jeremiah to tell the people that he will make Jerusalem a desolate place, and the cities of Judah a den for dragons and as heaps, this is referring to jackals. The last reference of dragons that refer to the jackal is found in Micah. Micah writes that he will wail and howl, that he will make a wailing like the dragons and mourning as the owls, Micah 1:8. Something to note is that oftentimes the owls and dragons, as it is written, are used together. In the English Standard Version, the names jackals and ostriches are used together, and often the name jackal is used in lieu of dragon, but we will further look into the names being used. Something also to see here, as we continue to study about the creatures, is that the Old Language in the King James Version can be difficult to understand, as some English words we read in one place mean one thing, but in another place they mean something different. This is just something to keep in mind as we continue to read about these creatures, as Old English does not mean the same thing today as it did then. Dragon is used in the ESV Bible as well, but mostly appears in the book of Revelation. Before we explore the references to the dragon, as dragon, what is a dragon usually perceived as? When someone thinks of a dragon, they typically might think of a flying creature that breathes fire. Interestingly, this exact description is found in the Bible more than a few times as well. The first reference we find is found in Isaiah 14:29 and says that what will come upon Palestine will be as a fiery flying serpent. When I see the words fiery flying serpent, I think of a fire-breathing dragon. We see these words repeated again in Isaiah 36, and the fiery flying serpent, they will carry their riches. Sounds kind of like in the movies, dragons guarding treasures and such. This message is directed to Judah and the woes they will face from the surrounding nations, namely Egypt. We see the imagery God uses to stir the people, but they would need to know what he is speaking about to stir them up. As we've seen with the Leviathan and the article relaying how it would be possible for them to breathe fire, these beasts on land could also do the same. Whereas the Leviathan had an available source of fish that produce ethanol, dragons would have a source, cattle and pigs, that produce methane gas, among other sources that could be available to the dragon. Additionally, much like how bugs and fish have an enzyme to create bioluminescence, the dragons could have an enzyme that would cause the explosive reaction. There is no limit in what God can do because with God, all things are possible. Matthew 19:26. We spoke about the bombardier beetle in the Leviathan part and how they created a chemical to spray acid at the predators, which also would reach high temperatures, and dragons could have had something similar. We find one specific story, found in Daniel chapter 14, a chapter found in the apocryphal books that talks about a dragon. The people of the kingdom, where Nebuchadnezzar once ruled, worshipped an idol they named Bel, as well as a dragon that was written about in the next part of the chapter. During this time, King Cyrus of Persia was ruling, which is reported in Daniel 11 of the Bible. In Daniel 14 of the Apocrypha, Daniel first defeated the idol by laying ash on the floor, ceiling of the temple, and exposing the lies of the priests of the idol that they brought their families in through a hidden trapdoor to consume the food. Therefore, the king ordered them all to be executed for their lies and deceit, and honored Daniel and the true living God. The king, however, then brought Daniel's attention to the dragon, and told Daniel he could not deny the dragon's power, because it was living and breathing and did eat. Therefore, Daniel asked for some time from the king to defeat the dragon without club or sword, and it was granted to him. Then Daniel fashioned together pitch, fat, and hair together, and baked them into cakes and fed them to the dragon. Perhaps he threw them into the dragon's mouth, or placed them down and the dragon ate them. But whatever the case, Daniel had the dragon swallow these cakes that seemed like a delicacy to the dragon. After the dragon had finished eating these lumps, the dragon burst open and was destroyed. And Daniel pointed out that these were the gods that these people worshipped. Again, Daniel proved the might and power of the true living God, the creator of all things. The people obviously did not like this and threatened the king to murder or overthrow the king if he did not take care of Daniel. Fearing, the king ordered Daniel to be thrown into the hungry lion's den. This event took place after the first time he was thrown in and lasted even longer, 7 days. 7 days can really make a person hungry, so God had an angel take the prophet Habakkuk to Daniel with some soup, and the prophet had fed Daniel, and then the angel took Habakkuk back to his home. Just like that, God took care of Daniel in every way, keeping him safe from the lions and feeding him when he was hungry. Sounds like some great room service to me, but in any case, Daniel again survived the ordeal. Saddened, the king returned to Daniel to mourn over him, only to find Daniel unscathed. Delighted in the event and angry with the men who conspired against Daniel, the king had ordered the evil men to be thrown in the lion's den after freeing Daniel, and the men were devoured right in front of the king. Just another great testament of God's awesome power and how his will is always completed, how God can protect the righteous and judge the wicked. To our great and mighty God be all honor, glory, and praise, for only he is worthy of it all.